Good evening. Welcome to the Channel 2 News. I'm Warren Olney.
I'm Penny Griego. Thanks for joining us. Our top story tonight, Covina police are searching for answers in the apparent kidnapping of a 4-year-old girl there yesterday. The only clues may come from the little girl who is now back home, safe and happy.
Hello, folks. I'm here to do...
A Shirley Temple look-alike, the same blonde curly locks, the same outgoing, happy personality. But 6 frightening hours this weekend temporarily erased the smiles of 4-year-old Jade Revell. She was kidnapped from her Covina apartment building late yesterday afternoon, last seen in the complex playground.
This guy, I was going to see my friends, and he was upstairs, and he's taking me away in his van.
Jade was found just before 11 last night, about 15 miles away from here. She was crouched on the carport of an upland apartment building. Apparently, the man who'd taken her had left her there alone.
You know, she was telling us about the man that babysat her all day, and, you know, she didn't like him too much. And that he put her out on the street in the dark and in the rain and didn't come back for her. And she was real upset by that. I mean, that was really one of her most upsetting moments, was that he put her out and told her he would be back in a second, and then he didn't come back. She was real upset.
A medical exam showed Jade is just fine. Police say there was no evidence of sexual intercourse, but they're not yet sure if she was otherwise sexually assaulted. Her family is just glad to have the terrifying experience over.
I'm just glad that she's back and that, you know, as far as we know, she's okay.
Just thank God. That's all I can say. That's all I can say. I just love her so much.
Little Jade was happy to meet another man last night, the policeman who reunited her with her mother.
He gave me a trip home, and I was so happy when I was going home.
Police say the suspect in the case is a white man in his 30s, about 5'10", with a thin build. He drove a brown van. Another accident involving an RTD bus tonight in Los Angeles. The accident occurred at 79th and Broadway in South Central LA at about 8:30 this evening. The bus broadsided a Honda Civic that had apparently ran a red light. The 2 passengers in the Honda were transported to Martin Luther King Hospital and reported in critical condition. There are no reported injuries to any of the passengers riding the bus.
Potentially deadly gas was released in an engineering building on the USC campus today during the dismantling of a piece of equipment. Nobody was injured, but 28 people were treated at the scene and 8 people were hospitalized, later released. Jim Forbes has a report.
Only a small amount of the chemical boron trifluoride vaporized in a university science lab. But that chemical is deadly, and enough released into the air to shut off access to the campus, quarantine those who just happen to be walking by, and necessitate medical treatment for those exposed.
Chemical is extremely poisonous. It's poisonous on inhalation, and it's also very irritating to the skin and to mucous membranes.
I want you to take a look at our officer. He's feeling irritation, and I think we want to get some calcium glutamate on board.
Okay,
You know what we're dealing with?
A USC security guard responding to the accident suffered the most serious symptoms.
And there was this kind of gas vapor that was escaping from this small little cylinder that was attached to the machine. You see, and when I went in there, I walked in there, and I seen it, and when I inhaled the breath, it kind of just cut off my oxygen. I couldn't breathe, so then I immediately evacuated that floor, told everybody to get downstairs.
A half-dozen students were working with a professor in the lab, disassembling a machine that hadn't been used in years. A piece was dropped, releasing the lethal vapor.
We want you to stay right here for the time being until we've got permission to release you. Okay? What we got next?
Fire paramedics held for observation more than 24 people who were near the building. A hazardous materials crew then entered the lab and contained the spill. The 10 directly exposed have been transported to local hospitals for blood tests, but none is complaining of serious discomfort.
The checking that we did today indicates we saw no problems, and you told us about no problems. You didn't have any signs and symptoms, okay?
Passers-by have been released, firemen decontaminated, and university officials left to assess how and why this deadly gas dangerously exposed so many. Jim Forbes, Channel 2 News, Los Angeles.
Repeat 8.
In New York, a fire that swept through the top of a high-rise apartment building is being blamed tonight on a cigarette carelessly tossed into a trash bin. 7 people died in that fire, including 3 who jumped from the roof of the 35-story building as the flames overtook them. We have a report from Richard Roth.
A resident said the sound was like firecrackers when flames raced up a garbage chute and flashed into top-floor apartments, turning the Upper Manhattan high-rise into a death trap. 3 people jumped to their deaths from top floors out of sheer panic, according to a fire department spokesman who said the victims were badly burned before they leaped. 4 others died in apartments on the 33rd and 34th floors of the Block Square building in East Harlem, a 270 apartment complex where rents are subsidized by the government.
There was nothing they could do because they didn't have a terrace. And we were on a terrace, and it was tight for us, and the flames were coming down, and the firemen were throwing the glass down.
And it was way up there, but there was so much black smoke.
Firemen at first thought it was just a blaze in a trash compactor or the garbage chute that runs the length of the building, but that apparently was only where it began.
There was a sprinkler head over the compactor area in the cellar area. We're looking to see why it didn't activate.
At least 22 people were injured, some of them firefighters, mostly smoke inhalation. Building residents were led to a nearby church, and New York's mayor said authorities would help feed and clothe them. Like most modern apartment towers, the building was classified fireproof, but authorities said that simply means the structure won't burn, and the safest place inside would have been a hall.